morning, everyone, and thank you so much for coming to our panel of record real stories, lessons from millionaires, powered by the Hub. And today we have special guests coming from us, and for all of you that will be following us in our social media, be ready because this is a masterclass from people that have built, scale, and exit from over 6 figures. So I would like, Mitali, first of all, you introduce yourself, and then Omar.
Hi everyone, my name is Mitali, Saxena. I am an engineer by my background, but switched fields a few times. I built a fashion tech company using AI when AI wasn't a thing. We built machine learning models to match women's body shapes with clothing. And my lessons learned from there were that my mindset and mental awareness played a big role. So I'm building something in that space for entrepreneurs now.
Hi, my name is Omar Periu, and I have built many of companies from energy drinks to health clubs to record companies to real estate to whatever. I've done a lot of different things in my life. I've been very blessed. And it all came from having the right mentors and having people that can help you elevate yourself. So I'm really excited to share with you some of the ideas that I picked up with my mentors and the things I've learned on my journey.
So the first question, because it's some told stories, okay? We would love to know how everything started. Why you guys decided to be an entrepreneur. Yesterday we shared a statistic that 86% of entrepreneurs only make 100,000 a year, so it's a very average job. So we are on the 12% that actually make more than that, scale and exit. So why you decided to become an entrepreneur in the first place?
I think the why is a very important question, and that why kind of stayed with me the entire journey. My why was because I wanted to promote body positivity for women. The mission of my company had always been the same, even though the business model changed. I stood outside of New York Fashion Week with a plus size American model and African American model and a transgender model. And I asked people, and with a whiteboard, nothing too fancy, if they resonated with the idea that you don't have to look like models in real life, and put a BeReal sticker on these models, and they did. And that was the beginning of my why. Everyone resonated. I got press overnight, and I did not have a business model. I had a name, Fashion, and we got covered by BuzzFeed, Vogue, a lot of magazines, and that became my why, even though we pivoted the business a few times. And after that, I just felt like it wasn't that I didn't want to work for anyone. That was never the reason. The reason was to do something that made a difference. And that kept me going, and it's still making me go with my new venture, Awareness Intelligence, which is helping entrepreneurs with mental awareness while building their startup.
And you guys might think what these two have in common, okay? Like an engineer, women in tech, everybody knows only 2% of women in tech get funding, right? And then Omar, which is the father of LA Fitness. Some of you might know about the chain of gyms. So at a time, at 31 years old, we'll share the story. He owned the largest gym chain in this country and eventually scaled to LA Fitness. So he's literally the father of LA Fitness, plus a serial entrepreneur. So what these two have in common is that clearly they are not from here, and they arrive here to a new country with nothing. So Omar, we would like to know your story. Why you become an entrepreneur and how everything started. He's from my same country, from Cuba, with nothing. Literally, your dad, your family lost everything twice, right? And from nothing, he built not only the largest gym chain of this country, but what he created become LH Fitness, which is, I don't know, the McDonald's of the gyms. I live in London, and I got 3 blocks from my home, we have one. So it went all over the world. So tell us what's the story, how everything started coming from nothing and losing everything.
Well, I came from Cuba. I was 8 years old, and nothing with the clothes I was wearing. And I studied music. I'm a lyric tenor. I sang opera, and I wanted to be a singer. And I thought, you know, I'm going to go out to California and be discovered. And when I got there, they weren't waiting for me, so I had to get a job. And the only thing I really knew was working out, because when I was a young man, I weighed 122 pounds. And I thought if I could start working out, I could build my body. Well, I met a guy, a gentleman who was Mr. USA, and he was a bodybuilder, Steve Reed, and then you probably know of Sergio Oliva. He's Cuban. He won Mr. Olympia. So I started working out with them, and I held the AU record for bench press, 400 pounds, my weight class, and I made it to the Olympic trials in a 100-yard dash, 100 meters. So I really love health and fitness. So when I got to California and they weren't waiting for me to give me a contract, I thought, I got to do something with my life. But I love to help people because working out changed my life. So if I could help somebody gain weight, lose weight, tone and firm, have more energy, that was my passion. So I started sharing with other people what I could do. I started as a personal trainer. In fact, if you ever heard of Tom Selleck, Magnum PI, I was his personal trainer. So I trained a lot of celebrities. Magnum PI, Abdul Jabbar. I worked with a lot of people that were in the industry of movies and theater. But I trained them, and I thought, wow, what if I could start my own gym? And I started 1, then 2, then 28, and kept going. But I think it's really important to realize you got to find something that you really want to do and that you love. I love working out, so it was a passion for me. And then I wanted to share that with other people. So you got to have a purpose, as you said. You got to have a purpose. But before you have a purpose, you have to have desire and a willingness to do something. See, most people come up with great ideas, but they don't do anything. Like, your idea is great, and you came up with it, you did something. But most people go, that's a great idea. I call that a wish. Once you take that formulation of a thought and put it into a goal, it's no longer a wish, it's modulated into a thought that becomes a thing. That becomes your purpose. When you get that purpose, then you're ready to go to the next level. But most people don't do that. And why? Because they think if they set a goal, they're done, and that's not enough. You gotta concentrate on what you want. You gotta break down the activities. I have a little saying, any entrepreneur that wakes up without a plan is unemployed. Right? Because you know when you wake up, if you're an entrepreneur, a lot of entrepreneurs, tell me if I'm wrong, mistake activity with results. And a lot of them get old, they fall in love with the activities. I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this. And then a year later, what? 99% of the companies in the United States close, only 1% make it. Why? Because they didn't have a great plan. So once you find out what you want to do, break it down, set the goal, reverse engineer it, take massive action, and get ready for challenges. It's going to happen.
Okay, and now in my podcast on Stop of 5 Steps How to Make Your First Million or Product Market Fit, right? What we learned is that there are different stages of the entrepreneur, right? So when you sell of the $500,000, you are wearing all the hats, you're tired. When you get $1 million, it's kind of a sign that you have a product market fit. And I remember when I was building my property business, I wanted to sell over $5 million there in London. You as an entrepreneur, you change, because when the sales and you scale up, you have to transform yourself. Like, for example, when after you sell $1 million, you need to become leadership and things like that, right? So my next question is scaling up, because I remember when I made my first $1 million and I was to scale my business, and I was thinking, Omar, what I have is a small mess. If I scale, what I'm going to scale is a big mess. That's what I was thinking, and I didn't have any clue, and it was hard for me because I didn't know how to scale, and I have huge issues with cash flow. I was hosting maybe 177 tenants in London, and I'm arriving to the office, a smiling face, the office full of people, 177 tenants, a big operation, and I only have 10 pounds in my bank account. And I had to open the door of the office and smile and pretend everything was okay, and the big operation sounds good that it was a property business and every day somebody else paid rent. But I scaling up, I had huge challenges with cash flow again and again and again. I scaled too fast. And like I said, I had to go to the office and put it literally a poker face. So that's what happened to me. So scaling up because those guys not only scale, but exited for over 6 figures. What was your biggest challenge in scaling up women in tech? The most challenging job in this planet you have done. I'm so proud of you. Yeah, literally. You have made it impossible. Yeah. So what was your biggest challenge in scaling up and how you become that challenge?
I can't say it was just one challenge. I think it was a Rolodex of a challenge. The top one would be cash flow as well for me because we were very inventory heavy. So we had to make sure that if you have orders coming, it's not a chicken and egg situation. You get orders, where do you get the inventory, and so on and so forth. I've been a problem solver thanks to my genes, I guess. Being an engineer, I focused more on data. So with implementation of certain processes and we automated a lot of stuff, we started doing data-based recommendation, inventory planning. Our processes, like for example, the margins that we were making increased when we implemented a software in the warehouse where a packaging person did not spend 15 minutes packaging going up and down in the warehouse. They actually went in a straight row. So it reduced from 15 minutes to 3 minutes, and that's again time gain. Resource management, that's what I'm coming to, was one of them. Building out a scalable business with technology was the second one. And the third one, which we all know, is investment. That was a really big challenge, and I did not want to admit in the beginning that it is a challenge for women in this space, but it was, and it has been. And I love to support other women who are going through this journey because I know how hard it is. Mindset definitely played a very big role. I couldn't give up. I woke up every morning with heart palpitation, like you said, you go to the office, you have to smile, and then you're like, oh, I have to pay all these bills, I have to show growth, I have to, do I match all the KPIs for these investors. But resilience came in handy. Like I was saying, my mindfulness practices came in handy, and the challenges when it came to raising money, it was, I didn't, like you said, some people, it's just like an action. You keep applying and talking to people. I became a little bit more focused on the right people. I learned it in the first few months that it wasn't about the number of people that you contacted, it was more strategic investment that I needed, not like a dumb check. So then I started going through contacts and finding people who really aligned with the mission and our pieces of like what we were building. So challenges wise, I would say, those would be my top: technology, resources, and investment.
Now, Omar, but also before you mention your challenge, I would like also that you share the story. On top of the challenges with building, like the father of the LA fitness, those challenges that you have on the family before, because you guys lost everything twice, because you always see a success story like, wow, by 31 years old, he was a multimillionaire and he owned the largest gym franchise in this country that eventually turned out to be LA Fitness now in the future. But what people don't know is the untold story, what this panel is about, because those guys, they lost everything twice, right? So can you share a little bit more of that, and then your biggest challenges getting on?
Yes, I believe that my parents losing everything twice motivated me to never be like that. Mm-hmm. I got to a point where I just never wanted to be broke. I never did. And it's funny, I talked to some of my very wealthy friends, and we both have the same mindset. I wake up every morning like I have nothing. And I don't know if you get that. That when you wake up like you have nothing every morning, it makes you humble, makes you want to work harder, and it makes you be more persistent. So every morning I wake up, I feel like, okay, so I don't have to work. I haven't had to work since I was 31 years old last year, right? No, but I get up every morning hungry. And as my dear friend Les Brown says, you gotta be hungry, right?
Yeah.
But you gotta be hungry every morning, and you gotta want more. Now the second question was, how did I scale? Well, I knew that I was the #1 salesperson in health and fitness in the country. So how do I duplicate myself? I had to create systems. So for all of you that are building your companies, you gotta create a foundation that's got structure, that's got systems. Because if you don't have systems, you can't scale. Because you can't do it all yourself. You burn out, like we were talking about. You burn out. You can't micromanage. You've got to be able to duplicate yourself, and the only way to do that is with structure, foundation, and systems.
Yeah, and then a topic that we talk about in our podcast is going from 0 to the first million is a traumatized process. All of us that we have gone through this journey is kind of a trauma. But then if you're gonna say from 1 to 3 million, 5 million is a second trauma because you have to unlearn everything. Because basically from 0 to 100,000, everything you learn, when you hit the 100,000, you have to forget everything and learn from 0 how to make from 100,000 to a million. But then when you make a million, you have to forget everything you know, because now you need to learn new from 1 million to 3 million to 5 million. So clearly we end up traumatized about all this process of learning and unlearning and growing and scaling, and also leadership, because when we scale, it's all about leadership and process, and we didn't sign up for this. We signed up as an entrepreneur to have a product, to sell it, and to make money. Now we have to become leaders. Now we need to learn about culture. When I was scaling my business, I didn't even know what culture meant. What's that? And why I have to become a leader? I'm not a leader. I want to sell my product, make a profit, and make some money, right? So we have that transformation going as the company grows, and you have to work a lot on yourself because you have to adapt, especially those entrepreneurs that actually exited. You have to adapt and rethink and reinvent yourself as the company scale. And I always say that we all have ego as entrepreneurs, because otherwise we won't be entrepreneurs. We think that we can do better. However, as the company scale, as we grow, we have to manage that ego and understand that it's not about us, it's about the people, it's about the team, and start the leadership process. So for both of you, Mitali, when you realize that, oh my God, I had to become a leader, and I had to enroll my team, because as you shared with me, it was a process, sometimes there was so much tension in the company, and you managed to turn the situation around. I'm sure that Omar has similar experience because we all been there. So tell us about when you realize that, oh, I have to become a leader, and this is a new thing for me.
So mine was a very funny story, and I still believe in this. I don't believe that you have to be serious to be taken seriously. So I always went with the title of CEO as Chief Entertainment Officer, and it totally worked. I made friends with my team. I felt like they didn't see me as a boss, and that really, really helped, because I could even share my emotions with them. And there was one thing that flipped the switch was there was some mistakes in the warehouse that were made, and I wasn't aware of them because they thought, I was told that later on that, they were afraid to tell me. So I'm like, I can't be, there's no fear. I'm not an evil person. Why are they afraid of me? So I created a new concept in the office called the oops board. So we had like a whiteboard behind every person, and you would write your oops. And in our team meeting, I was the first one to start with my oops. So that way we created like a space for everyone to admit if there was anything wrong that had happened in that week. But besides that, I think my leadership skills, which unknowingly happened, was when we were raising our Series A and it became a big pressure cooker in the office. we didn't know where we were going. We just have to keep growing because that's what investors needed from us. And I started bringing in. That's when now I know that was leadership practices. At that time, I was just I didn't know what I was, what to call it. But I started building accountability teams. I started doing mindfulness practices with everyone and making sure that my mood and my behavior wasn't affecting them. Like, you have to separate the two. You are a different person at home and you're a whole different person in the office. There's a connect between the two lives, but you can show it. So yeah, that's
okay. And then Omar, you take the leadership. When do you decide to become a leader? And because you're coming from Cuba, you have an even worse challenge. Because our leadership in Cuba sucks. Over there, you are the boss and everybody has to do what you say. That's why we have a communist country there. So what he learned about leadership from the country that we both have been is actually the worst example of leadership. So now, how you learn effective leadership? Because it's the only way that you could escape. Because literally, over there, you didn't learn it. That's why you end up here in the first place.
Yes, thank you, Harry. And for me, I was really blessed to have mentors. My mentor, Tom Murphy, managed speakers, and he was friends with a lot of the big speakers. So I didn't just go to their seminars, I got to hang out with them at their house. People like, I became friends with John Maxwell, Bob Proctor, Brian Tracy, Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, just to name a few. And so I became friends with them, and they helped me because they were all writing books on leadership and mentorship. And so they helped me elevate my game by studying their ways and what they do. And then the experience, you learn. You learn from your experience.
I try and learn, right? Okay, so to do closing remarks, because I speak in international stages, and I share the stage with people like Tony Robbins, Les Brown, but I want to Mario to share a little bit more, to share a little bit more about that energy, because literally you have met the people that create the personal industry, the personal development industry. We're talking about Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, people that we are that literally create the personal development industry, or might have the luxury to be mentored by those giants that I admire so much. And actually all the personal development industry have been built on the base of the foundation that all those guys create. And you literally met all of them, Bob Proctor, Jim Rohn.
Jim Rohn was
Tell us how many of these big giants,
well, there was like
chickens, anyone here with the book Chicken Soup for the Soul,
yes,
he has been in
3 of those.
He's in 3 of those. So tell us a little bit about those big giants and what impact have in your life, and also may Itali share that to conclude.
So for me, it was very important to have these mentors because each one of them brings a different strength, right? So you've got one that's sales, one that's leadership, one that's goal setting, one that's purpose, one that's mindset. Like I have a new book, my 33rd book, it's called Money in Your Mindset, because I think we were talking earlier that your mindset's so important. So I got lucky to hang out with them, and as you know, Jim Rohn was Tony Robbins' mentor, who was the biggest in our business, right? So you gotta have mentors. I got lucky enough that I invested in them, but then I got to hang out with them because my mentor was their friend and their manager for a lot of them. You have to really invest in yourself. The first key to becoming great as a business entrepreneur is to work harder on yourself than you do on your dreams. You've got to develop yourself. You have to have continuous and never-ending improvement. If you don't do that, look, like we were talking before, let's imagine this is a container, right? God won't give you more than you can handle. When you get to this container filled, the money will go away from you. You'll lose it all. Your goal is to become a bigger container. And that comes from self-development. That means developing yourself. Life is a do-it-yourself project. You gotta work on yourself.
For me, I mean, mentors obviously played a very big role, but I also had a little bit of a spiritual teacher experience that happened, in between all of that. And I felt like, yeah, every person played a different role, whether it came from a business standpoint or mindset standpoint. But in the end, I had to trust my own self. You can only get so much outside knowledge. In the end, if you don't trust yourself in what you're doing, the end result will be very different. So I totally believe that our inner journey and what you were saying, our mindset, connecting to our intuitive power really, really plays a big role in making outside decisions. And that's been my journey and up until now.
Yeah, for me, like I said, I have a great impact. So I experienced, because I shared the stage with some of those big giants, not as much as mine. And when you are around these people, the energy that they have, and when you tell them I have a problem, I'm scaling and I'm stuck, the way they look at you, the way that they share that knowledge with you, you can tell that they have been there, and give you a sense of confidence that if they have gone through, you can do it too. So for me, it has been very important. You talk about confidence, and that's why you were working out to give me confidence. Yeah. For me, those mentors give me confidence that I can do it. Because there were real people, humble, like you described, yeah? When I shared the stage with Les Brown in London, you're not gonna believe I was speaking before him, right? So I finished to speak, and he was about to go inside. In my 1,600 entrepreneurs in Westminster in London, and I finished my speech, and I'm meeting Les Brown. He's about to speak. Guess what he's doing backstage? Taking pictures with us and having fun. And he has only one person there that will tell, let's come on, go. And he will transform the whole audience. And I'm thinking, if it's me, when I was me, I'm like preparing, okay, I'm gonna do it. But those guys are so confident, and they know their stuff so well that they can handle any room for entrepreneurs, and they can deliver an amazing experience. So that's our take. 5 mentors, you have them here on the stage, very example, 6-figure entrepreneurs that exited the business, so they have gone all the way from zero to the very end, almost the impossible, coming from Cuba with nothing, losing only 2 times, and women in tech exiting. Okay, so any closing remarks?
Yes, I know that we have a short time with you here, and with your permission, if you want to ask me a question or reach out, all you do is go to omarperiu.com/Miami.
Exactly. And then you got any of the 31 books that he has written. Okay, and for you, how they can find you?
On LinkedIn, this is my first and last name. It's very unique. You'll find me.
Okay, and for me, listen to the Unstoppable podcast, 5 steps how to make your first million. I already interviewed 500 millionaires, as brilliant as these two. And they're sharing all these insights of what you have seen here. Omar has been in my podcast, and Mitali also. They have been actually literally guests of our podcast.
Yes, I hope you listen to Harry's podcast, because they're really great, they're informative, they're educational, and they're entertaining.
Yeah, and there are 2, so you have 498 more to listen. Okay.
Cheers.
Gracias, chicos.
Follow us for more on charismatic speaking, leadership, exponential business growth, branding, marketing, strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.